We were talking about impeachment. Here's Nancy Pelosi this morning addressing this question of impeachment. I mean, for the life of me, I have no idea where she's going with this. There are now 96 Democratic representatives who've come out. One of them is Catherine Clark. She is in the leadership, at least, of the Democrats in the House. I mean, not necessarily, I think with the re-elect campaign. Nevertheless, she's a Democratic leadership member who apparently has been released by Nancy Pelosi or not. There's a lot of reports that Gerald Nadler is getting into more and more heated exchanges with Pelosi over this. He is beginning to feel the heat himself as there is a primary candidate who's announced and has at this point been primarily running, as far as I can tell, on this question of impeachment. And this came up, I think, in our conversation with Sean McElwee at Netroots Nation. This is another value to primarying, even primarying Congresspeople who are more or less okay, right? Like the whole idea is you want to deploy your resources where they're needed the most. But I think there is a very strong argument that primarying candidates who you may even like, basically keep them, I don't want to say honest, but will give them at least another arrow in their quiver or another reason or an incentive to pursue policies that you want to see implemented. Here is Nancy Pelosi, for some reason, wearing mistletoe at the on the House today.
Sam Brock.
In the aftermath of the Mueller hearing, you said that you want to focus on what you're doing in the courts. Now, some of your Democratic colleagues believe you're simply trying to run out the clock on impeachment. Are you trying to run out the clock?
No, I'm not trying to run out the clock. Let's get sophisticated about this, okay?
Oh.
Okay?
But how long
Would that be?
fights will take?
We will proceed when we have what we need to proceed, not one day sooner. And everybody has the liberty and the luxury to espouse their own position and to criticize me for trying to go down the path in the most determined, positive way. Again, their advocacy for impeachment only gives me leverage. I have no complaint with what they are doing, but I know Mueller, I keep calling him Special Counsel Mueller. Mr. Mueller said the other day, confirmed in the public mind that the president has obstructed justice. You know what he said. It could have exonerated him. He would have, he didn't. But he was not able to investigate the president's finances, personal, business, or otherwise, and that is what we are doing in the courts. So I'm willing to take whatever heat there is there to say when the decision will be made in a timely fashion. This isn't endless. And when we have the best, strongest possible case, and that's not endless either. I mean, it may be endless in terms of the violations of the law that the president is engaged in. But that's what I say to you.
In all honesty, I feel like I could sit down with that piece of video for an hour and a half and not be able to tell you what she's talking about. And I don't know if she's being deliberately evasive in that. Like, she clearly thinks that there is some threshold of information that has not been crossed. She can't possibly think that she's going to get that threshold through the courts. If the Democrats wanted to see Donald Trump's taxes, they could see Donald Trump's taxes from New York State. Yesterday, they could see them. Richard Neal didn't want to. If they wanted to look into the finances, they could do that. They could have done that yesterday. If they are worried that their subpoenas are not being pursued with any vigor or taken seriously by the administration, there is one recourse for them: to start an impeachment inquiry, which the courts have already made clear it advantages subpoenas over subpoenas that are issued in a non-impeachment inquiry. So, I mean, in part, I think she's just sort of like lying, but she can't even see it. We're at the point now where like there doesn't even seem to be an effort to offer a cohesive argument against. Like, I don't know what it is. And it's clearly they're trying to run out the clock. Now, maybe from her perspective, maybe the requirement is I need assurances from Chuck Schumer that we're not going to have 10 or 12 Democratic senators voting against impeachment hearings or voting against the articles of impeachment if it shows up in the Senate. Or maybe the idea is that like, oh, we're going to start impeachment proceedings in, July of 2020 so that there'll be no time to vote on it. I don't know.
I just think, I don't know either, but I just think, like keep it simple in the sense that they are obviously trying to run out the clock on any number of things. I think that they're quite confident and cocky about beating Donald Trump, and they are absolutely risk averse and incredibly cowardly and timid. And so these other factors might be a consideration, but I just think it's as simple as like they have their limited case studies. They probably are thinking of Clinton in '98, even though it's really not a good comparison at all. It's like a shockingly bad comparison. And I'm a little bit more skeptical. I support impeachment, but I'm not as gung-ho about it as other people are at all. But that's a stupid comparison in my opinion. I think that they want nothing that could disrupt gliding into 2020. Right. That's it.
But
all these other things though about like I'm saying like, yeah, I guess what I'm trying to just say is I just think we can't, sure, like he's just so ludicrous, but Pelosi and Schumer are a unit. I mean, and she's not trying to protect him.
I don't know if that's the case.
I mean,
the evidence arguing that they're not a unit would be the border bill, right? Because she certainly thought that they were going to fight the border bill, and they passed one that they liked in the House. They sent it to the Senate, and that border bill died. They brought up Mitch McConnell's. It won something like 89-11. Which means that 30 some odd Democrats voted for it. There's no way.
Schumer came out and said, I'm shocked that the House passed it. He said the same thing a couple weeks ago.
But the House has to pass it.
I understand.
If your senator
yes, I get it.
votes against the bill. And so that is evidence to me that they're not on the same page and that she cannot rely on Chuck Schumer. Now, I haven't seen any reporting to that effect. And it may behoove her to not do that because obviously there's nobody complaining in the Senate. But
she's more focused on reining in an AOC and doing that than she is in this short-term struggle.
Well,
I'm sure she wants to defeat
I'm not
Donald
defending
Trump.
Nancy Pelosi. I'm trying to describe a dynamic. If she sees that she's not able to do anything because she's hampered by Chuck Schumer, it is much easier for her to pick on 4 freshman congresspeople, make that the story of the day, rather than trying to go after Chuck Schumer, who she cannot success. There's no success in that.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to say quickly, like we don't know what's in the mind of Pelosi, but we do know what her priorities the staff that she has with Drew Hamill,
indeed,
and the staff of Hakeem Jeffries have, and it is to go after the left.
It's like what Grimm said. Grimm said, look, these people are more interested in not even running the House, but in internal control of one half of the House.
I still think if she really, really were smart about trying to get internal control, though, she would not be playing into their hands. Like, she's kind of right. They're only 4 votes. They don't have that much power. A lot of their power comes from their base, and it comes from social media, and it comes from the attention that they're getting. And by making that a story, she is ceding that ground to them, and I feel like it's only going to help them in the long run.
In the long run, it may, but I think, in the short term, I think it just gives her something to talk about. Like, it's like, that
you need content, baby.
Exactly.
She seemed like she was trying to run the clock out on that statement just now.
No kidding.
We need some content.
Speaking of which,